Demar Derozan is one of the most confusing and one of the worst best stars in the league. Now, what do I mean by that? DeRozan is a talented scorer, and this year he's a much improved playmaker. He is averaging 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists while shooting nearly 50% from the field with a PER of 22 and 7 win shares. Looking at his stats, you think he's one of the best players in the league, and he kind of is. But the issue plaguing DeRozan's career is his inability to shoot the 3-ball. This year, only 0.8% of his shots were from 3-point range, and he's only averaging 1 attempt per game, while shooting 25%. This problem has been so bad that the Spurs even moved him to power forward. No one is denying that Demar Derozan doesn't have some talent. He is a great mid-range scorer and finisher around the rim, but if there's anyone who I would say is born in the wrong era, it's DeRozan. I think DeRozan would have been one of the most prominent scorers in the NBA if he played in the 80s, 90s, or even the early 2000s, where there was a much larger emphasis on isolation ball and mid-range and less on the 3-point game. But he is not. He is in 2021, and after an awful performance where he shot 5 of 21 in the Spurs play-in game, DeRozan is now 31 years old, headed into free agency. So what exactly is next for him? Similar to DeMar DeRozan, the San Antonio Spurs are also in a difficult spot. They have been stuck in the middle for years, and while they have some potential building pieces such as DeJounte Murray and Keldon Johnson, DeRozan will be well past his prime by the time they are ready to compete again. So it is most likely that he will be moving on this summer, most likely to join a contender or a team that can best utilize his talents. I have laid out a few places where I think he might go, but as a side note, I actually did not plan this out financially, so let's just keep that in mind. First is the Chicago Bulls. Chicago was towards the bottom, having a 9th worst offensive rating last year at 110.4. They also do have 2 stars in Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, but outside of them, Chicago doesn't have a consistent go-to third player. They do also have some decent shooters and spacing on the roster that could open up the mid-range game for DeRozan. One option that I think will work well is him going to the Hornets. LaMelo Ball proved to be a future star this year, and Rozier is another capable scorer from the 3-point range, but the roster has many questions outside of that. I could see DeRozan fitting in well, adding 20 points per game to this team that needs it, having the 7th worst offense in the league. This would also allow for either Miles Bridges or Gordon Hayward to come off the bench, further strengthening their bench unit. And it is the Hornets. They gave Gordon Hayward a $120 million contract for 4 years. They like to do stupid things in free agency. While there's always talk of someone like DeRozan joining the LA teams, one team that may have a good role for him is the forgotten California team, the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox is a completely underrated superstar, and Marvin Bagley, not so much living up to his hype, is still a solid player with an improved 3-point game. The Kings also have pretty decent spacing, and I could see a role where DeRozan plays with the mid-range, with Harrison Barnes and Maurice Halliburton on the perimeter. The Orlando Magic have absolutely nothing going for them. They were the 2nd worst offense in the league this year and traded away all of their best players at the trade deadline. I could see the potential of the Magic signing DeRozan as a big name to sell some tickets. I don't know how well the spacing would work on this team, as a starting lineup of Marco Fultz, DeMar DeRozan at shooting guard, Jonathan Isaac, Otto Porter, and Wendell Carter Jr. While that's definitely better than what they have now, it's not a drastic, and it's barely even a playoff team. And once again, they still don't have that much spacing. One team that I think tends to be stupid in free agency is the Dallas Mavericks, desperate to make a move, trying to give Luka a 3rd star. But I kind of like the reality of a team led by Luka, DeRozan, and Porzingis. The Mavericks also have good spacing and a good spacing starting lineup, and this season they were already the 8th best offense. Adding a 20-point per game scorer could boost that even more, as well as take some of the load off of both Luka and Porzingis. Or it could work the other way, where DeRozan slows down their offense, and his lack of a 3-ball could worsen this young, promising team. Neither the Thunder or the Timberwolves have a star forward, and both of these teams were at the bottom, with the Thunder having the worst offense this year. Both teams also have pretty decent spacing, and they can sometimes be stupid, but the Thunder have a ton of draft picks, so I think that they're in a stage where they should just trust the process, and I don't know if the Timberwolves want to pair a non-shooter next to Anthony Edwards, but it is the Timberwolves, so you never know. The last option is for DeRozan to re-sign with the Spurs. I do not think this is going to happen, as this signing would not benefit either party, but if DeRozan does not get enough attention this offseason, or if the Spurs are desperate, which I find highly unlikely since they love to build through the draft, I could see the potential of them reuniting. I think this would be a waste of Demar Derozan's prime years, and I don't think the Spurs would benefit much either. DeRozan is certainly a confusing player, and while there are those people that say why doesn't he just get better at the 3-ball, he's been in the league for almost 13 years, and his 3 has shown virtually no improvement from his rookie year. Being 31 years old, we just can't expect there to be any drastic change at this point in his career. DeRozan is still a capable scorer, and put in the right situation can be the number 2 or 3 on a contending team, but a team who signs him have to be aware of the dangers, the lack of defense, and the lack of 3-point shooting that comes with this game. Alright, that's all for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button and subscribe so that way you can stay up to date with future episodes and where I'm going to be taking a look at more players and how they can be impacted in this year's free agency.